Well, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. I almost said Thursday. For some reason it feels like a Thursday to me, but I'm assured by my calendar that it's Wednesday. I hope you guys are all having a great day. So, I'm going live today because in 2022, I'm going to be doing a new thing where I'm going to be streaming live every single day of the week except for Saturdays at 5 p.m. So, we're getting in the habit of it. And every day at 5 p.m., I might talk about news, I might talk about life. I will let you guys know the topic, but today's topic is a little spicy. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot of interest generally in commentating on like internet drama. However, I do feel like there are larger life lessons to be learned from the whole Jack Murphy episode. And I have thoughts on those life lessons. And to be quite frank, I'm probably going to be a lot nicer to Jack than, frankly, I think he would be to me, or frankly, a lot nicer than a lot of people have been to him, because I really think that a lot of this I just think is unnecessary. But I also do believe it was a completely avoidable situation to begin with. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Jack Murphy situation and how I think he should have handled it. We're going to be talking about critical dominatrix theory. And just for fun, to round it all out, we're going to talk about the fact that apparently conservatives want the government to ban porn, which is a really, really bad idea. No matter how you feel about porn, that is a really bad idea. Now, I have the chat up on YouTube. I'm on Odyssey, I'm on Rockfin, but I'm also got my chat up in my locals community. So if you are a supporter in my locals community, go check out the live chat. I've got it up in the community right now. If you're not in the community, you can check it out. Bing! At kb.locals.com. I will be taking super chats in YouTube if you guys have questions or things you want me to say. And of course, I will respond to every single one of them. But I will also be taking questions and comments from my supporters in locals. Now, if you don't know how you can support me in locals, you can head over to kb.com/support. Let's get the ticker up. There it is. And you can support me by becoming a member in my locals at $5 a month. You can do it at $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. And one of the things you're going to unlock when you become a supporter in my locals community is the ability to engage in the live chat that I have going there right now. And if you're engaging in the live chat, you're going to be able to ask questions to me that I will answer on the stream that normally you would have to send in a super chat for. Listen, hey, we have our first super chat right here, so I appreciate it. The observing Atku? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Carlin, the whole idea to ban porn is not possible. They tried it a long time ago with alcohol and it didn't work then. Dude, I know. It's wrong for so many reasons. But apparently, you know, they really want to. So we're going to talk about that. No, don't worry. Critical dominatrix theory is not about my private life. No. But, you know, I do think that one of the most interesting things going on with the whole Jack Murphy thing is the balance between public and private life. And I'm going to talk about it. This is a theory I've had for a while. And so we're going to talk about what that means. Let's see. I think looks like some people are having trouble playing the stream in locals. Guys, it is working just fine for me. If you start the stream within the live chat function, I see it going just perfectly. So I'm sorry if that's not working, but I will still be monitoring the live chat. So if you want me to read something on the screen or answer a question, go ahead and chat it into locals and we can have that conversation there. All right. Well, let's jump right into it. So Jack Murphy's gotten himself into some trouble. He has. Now, I should start off by saying that, you know, I have a weird connection with Jack Murphy in that both he and I have actually been canceled from the same place. So, fun fact, way back when my Trump rally article first went viral and like my life, it was like a bomb had exploded in the middle of my life. I sat down to watch Tim's show one night, and this is like right when he first started, and I think it was the first time that he'd ever even had a guest on the show, and it was Jack Murphy. And I happened to be watching that night as my article was going viral and my life was exploding around me. And Jack started talking about what he had been canceled from back in the day when he went from Democrat to deplorable, right? And what he started talking about was just kind of his past job and working in the education system in Washington, D.C. And he didn't say where he was fired from for that job, but I knew enough about what he was saying that I kind of sussed out that he was fired from one of my current clients or a client that I had then, because I used to do work within the education system in Washington, D.C. And it was a client that I had done several training gigs with. It was a client that had promised me training gigs for 2020. And so that was actually the realization of watching Jack Murphy on Tim Pool's show the first time he was on ever. That was when I had the realization that I was going to get canceled. And sure enough, actually, that particular client did cancel me a few months later because they didn't like that I was saying Kung Flu on Twitter, which I thought was just like one of the funniest things ever when COVID first came out. And so I did actually end up getting canceled from that client. And so I kind of had a little bit of an affinity with Jack Murphy until the whole anti-white stuff started, and I've covered the anti-white stuff extensively on this channel. You can go back and watch any of my streams about it. But essentially, when it all first started back in June and I was getting kind of like attacked and mobbed by white identitarians back in June, Jack Murphy blocked me on Twitter because I said to him, I was like, racism against white people is not any different than racism against black people. Like, racism is racism is racism. He didn't like that too much, so he blocked me on Twitter. So I will say, like, I'm not necessarily like the biggest Jack Murphy fan in the world because I think that he panders to a really bad audience. Not all of his audience. Like, I'm sure many people in his audience are fine, but I do think he panders to a really bad negative element and profits off of them. And that doesn't sit well with me. However, that is not going to influence my opinion on this, because I believe that principles only matter when you apply them in every circumstance, not only when they're consistent, or not only when, always when they're consistent, but like not only when they're for people that you like. You have to apply principles consistently. You have to apply them in instances where you might like someone and have an affinity towards someone. And frankly, you apply them the same way when you don't, because that's just the way the world should work. So when I first heard about this, the first thing that I heard was that Jack mouthed off to Sydney Watson. And I caught up on the video of it, and I will say that, yeah, Jack was really out of line. That was completely uncalled for, what he did to Sydney, and he absolutely owes Sydney an apology. But like the stuff that's precipitated since then, and we'll talk about some of it. I can't obviously show some of it on the screen, but the stuff that precipitated before it and has precipitated since then, dude, first off, I think people are going a little bit too far. Secondly, Jack Murphy created this situation by not owning up to his past and lying. All of what's going on right now is completely unnecessary. No, he should not have mouthed off to Sydney in the first place, and that was completely uncalled for, and was like, frankly, it shows you sometimes the guys who are some of the manliest, most masculine men, and they're charging $65 or whatever a month to learn for other men to learn from them about how to be manly men. Sometimes they are actually the weakest men that you might find. And I think that Jack's outburst at Sydney showed his weakness. It didn't show his strength. It showed his weakness. But that's one of those things that it frankly would not have happened if Jack had just owned his past. Because it's my understanding, and again, I have not watched all of the videos on this particular situation, but it seems to me that this whole thing started because Jack has written some stuff on the internet in the past that may be a little embarrassing to him today, and he didn't want to talk about it publicly. And that was his first mistake, is he got so mad that something he had done in the past had come back to haunt him. Listen, we all have pasts. We all have pasts. And I'll tell you what, most of us, if we're being honest, have done stupid things on the internet. Most of us have written stupid things on the internet. Most of us have posted stupid things on the internet, right? When something that you've posted in the past gets brought up, just own it. This was Jack's first mistake, is he was more angry. We're going to talk about the porn in a second. Don't worry about the we're going to talk about the porn in conjunction with critical dominatrix theory, because that's like a whole other thing. But like, if someone brings something up in the past that you are embarrassed of, just fucking own it. Yeah, I wrote that article that said some things. Maybe I wouldn't say the same thing today. Or, yeah, I wrote that article, and you know what? Some of it I stand behind. And here's why I stand behind it. Listen, I got canceled like 2 weeks ago for making a spiritual point about my spiritual belief system while being a troll on the internet. I was trolling. I believe everything I said, but I was trolling. I was trying to say it in the most inflammatory possible way that I could to piss people off. And when people started, trying to cancel me for it, what did I do? I said, nope, not sorry. Meant every word. And I have no regrets about that. I maybe could have worded the tweet a little bit more artfully, but I actually have no regrets about that, because I think that when we make points, we should fucking stand by them. And the thing of it is, people learn through experience. If we expect people to be perfect, if we always expect people, even when people express opinions that are frankly outlandish, that's a chance for people to learn and grow. It's a chance for people to look back with the benefit of hindsight and say, you know what, maybe wasn't the best decision to make in the world. But you can still own it. And you can still say, you know what, F it. Yeah, I wrote this thing. If Jack on that show, instead of screaming at Sydney and mouthing off to her and storming off the set like a spoiled child, had just said, yep, I wrote that article. Don't really want to talk about it. None of this would be happening right now. None of this would be happening right now. But he didn't do that. He mouthed off. He screamed at a girl. And then, to make matters worse, he lied about it. He lied. And it's like, man, you already had a spotlight on you. When you have a spotlight on you, lying is the worst possible decision that you can make. That was not the correct call. Because he's public enough on the internet where he sent all the autistic people out onto the internet to search for dirt for him. And they found it. And of course, I'm not going to show the dirt that they found, but if you guys are following the quartering at all, you know what I'm talking about. Someone didn't warn me before they sent me to the quartering's feed. They said, Carlin, go look at the quartering's feed. Go look on Minds at his feed, because on Twitter the stuff's been deleted, but on Minds it still exists. And so I was completely unprepared for what I saw on the quartering's feed. And yeah, those things cannot be unseen. For those of you who have not seen it, I will not show it. I will describe that I've seen more of Jack Murphy than I've ever wanted to see in my life. I've seen him sitting on things that I didn't want to see him sitting on. However, even if you've done porn in your past, there is nothing wrong with it. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I know I might piss off conservatives on my feed. Sex is a part of life. I don't see anything wrong with doing porn. If you don't want your porn to be public, take it off the freaking internet, Jack. But people found the porn. We're not going to show the porn. You guys can go suss it out for yourself. Side note, I've also apparently seen Cassandra Fairbanks naked now, which is another thing I didn't want to see. But whatever. Apparently public figures associated with that whole house of whatever the hell are, doing stuff and putting it on the internet. But Jack made another mistake. He made another effing mistake. Because once again, don't lie. Lying is the worst possible thing you can do in this situation. Once your porn is on the internet, man, just own the porn. Just say, yeah, we did it. Which he did eventually get to. But he put out this tweet behind his private Twitter account, but the quartering got a screenshot of it, obviously. And he lied again. He lied again. He said, "My fiance and I are the victims of revenge porn scandal by Predator, the Quartering, a close associate of Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer and others at the Blaze. I hate bringing attention to this, but this is sexual violence and beyond the pale. Glenn Beck, what say you, dude? What the hell was going through your mind?" First of all, this was not revenge porn. This was porn that he and his girlfriend put on the internet. They made the choice to do it. This is not a time to say, "Oh, I'm a victim of you big bad people on the internet," when, remember, he had an opportunity when he was originally on this show to just say, "Yeah, I wrote that article, whatever." He didn't do that. Then he went on Tim Pool and lied, and then this porn came out, and then he lied again and tried to tattle to Glenn Beck. Like, Glenn Beck doesn't have better things to do than worry about Jack Murphy's porn. This is one of the most unmasculine things you could possibly do. And again, I don't think he was doing anything wrong in that porn, honestly, and we're going to talk about that when we get to critical dominatrix theory and why Jack might be inclined to engage in such type of affair. I don't think he did anything wrong. Porn is legal in this country. I'm sorry. It may not be the choice everyone would make, but I don't actually think, I think if he had just owned it and be like, "Yeah, my girlfriend and I did a thing," which he did eventually do later, but he didn't do that. He lied again and he ran away. Dude, I think, and this is just my, like, this is my perspective, and obviously I've never been canceled for something like this, but if you're being canceled on the internet, running away and making your account private and hiding and issuing statements like this that are blatant lies, these are some of the worst possible actions that you can do. And apparently he was trying to intimidate other people to taking down tweets as well. Like, you've just got to let it ride, man. You've got to let it ride. Own your past. Your past has made you what you are today. There is nothing wrong with that. Whether you've done good things or bad things, or you've made mistakes, or you would do it again, it doesn't matter. Your past has made you where you are today. And if you just accept it and say, "Yup, that's part of my journey," and don't feel ashamed, then you're going to get off a whole lot better. But he didn't. He kept going. And apparently the Quartering posted this online too, where he was trying to set up a war room against them. And it's like, dude, you got found out, man. So apparently Jack said this, "Guys, I don't know where exactly he posted this, but this was tweeted from the Quartering's account. "Guys, this war," and again, you know he's pissed off because he keeps missing words. "My fiance and I, the victims," like he's missing a word there. This war, I need help." He's missing a word there. "I need someone to start a war room with people who are willing to do research. This guy posted revenge porn in my life." Wait, it wasn't revenge porn. It was porn that you posted on the internet. "That's a crime." Nope, not when you posted it on the internet. "He has incited violence against my wife." Dude, sex is not violence. Well, I mean, sometimes it can get a little messy. But a video of you taking it up the ass with something is not violence. I'm sorry. "Sydney and Elijah have supported this and incited it." No, they didn't, dude. You went on their show and behaved like a teenager and yelled at her. Unnecessarily. Very unmanly. "I need a room and people added if you're willing to help." So he's basically asking for people to do like opposition research. This is like the worst double down ever. If you're being canceled, ride it out, man. Own up to it. Either double down or say, "Nope, I made a mistake, my bad." Either double down or bend the fucking knee. Choose one. These really should be the only options when you're being canceled, because ain't nothing good is going to come when you do something like this. And then he posted this. Now, if Jack had honestly, when the porn came out, honestly, if Jack had just posted this to begin with, if this had just been the position that he took from the very beginning, then I think this would go much better for him, to be honest. He posted this. He said, Guys, there's more bad news coming out about me. I am sorry. After I got canceled from my real life job and career, things were dark. We didn't have any money coming in and there were no jobs at all. I was lost and desperate, so my fiance and I did cam porn at home. People paid us to fuck on the couch. We made thousands of dollars and had sex with each other. It is shameful, and I'm sorry that it's out there now. I don't actually think it's shameful, but okay, we'll gloss over that right now. And I am sorry you have to deal with it. I understand if this is too much heat for you guys, but this is it. This is the final washing, my final test. I have grown and changed so much since then. It was 3 years ago now, but the hate trolls have dug it all up and are going apeshit with it. My deepest apologies for any problems this may cause. I'm sorry. That's what he should have said from the beginning. Because to be really honest, I completely understand the position that he was probably in. He had lost his job. You need to pay the bills somehow. Maybe this was the best option he had for a quick influx of cash. Now, again, I'm not actually opposed to stuff like this. I'm not going to do it myself, but I'm also not going to judge other people for it. And guys, with other people in the chat are bringing up other elements of his sex life, like, you know, his wife or fiance or whatever having sex with other people. Dude, people do weird things in bed. I don't think that anyone should be judging anyone else for what they do in bed. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. People do things in bed. And frankly, if you haven't done something in bed that you would be embarrassed about, if it got out, then you probably aren't having as much fun as you could be. I don't think anyone should be judging anyone else for what they like in bed. If his wife or fiance or whatever she was a willing participant, that's between them. That's between them, man. It's no one else's business. The very last thing that we should be canceling someone for is what they like in bed. The very last thing. Now, let me see. Let me go back to my Twitter. Sorry, I should have had this pulled up. I didn't. Lauren Southern had a good take on this situation, and it was actually more or less my position on it. Not that. Oh my goodness. I tweet way too much. I do. I tweet way too effing much. Where the hell is it? Give me one sec, guys. Because I thought Lauren Southern's take was really actually very good. No. There it is. Went past it like 3 times. Okay. Here's her take. She says, damn, I really disagree with the way Jack Murphy has behaved. Utterly unacceptable towards Sid. Needed to get checked on that. However, I feel there's also some spiritual sickness in the glee people have from his downfall. I know it's the internet. We all do this, but it's just sad. Yes, I understand giggling your ass off at people's implosion that is almost entirely self-driven is impossible not to do on the internet. I just also think everyone's going to meet the guillotine one day for one reason or another. Just be ready for yours. I absolutely agree with her on that. I agree. I think that the call out regarding how he spoke to Sydney was merited. I also think all the rest of this was an entirely self-created problem that Jack could have avoided had he just owned up to it from the very beginning. Had he just owned his past and said, yes, that's my past. I'd do the same thing again today, or I wouldn't do the same thing again today, but that's my past. I do think that the feeding frenzy going on around it is a lot. I mean, Jack's going to have very real problems moving forward with all of this. And maybe some of it's merited, but I also think that I don't think we should be canceling people for what they do in bed. I think that that's ridiculous because almost every single one of us that has a healthy sex life has done weird shit in bed. And if you wouldn't want to be canceled for the weird shit you've done, then why are you doing it to someone else? So that's what I mean when I say I'm probably going to be a lot nicer to Jack than people might think, because I think a lot of this is just, it's revelry. And the way that people are getting excited about this, the way that people are engaging with this. Yeah, it's funny. Ha ha. Got to see him sit on a dildo. Wasn't expecting that today. But the glee over it is a bit much. And the posting stuff everywhere on Twitter is a bit much. Because if it can happen to him, it can happen to any of us. And trust me, that's not a mess that you want coming down on your head. But I do think it's funny. I do think it's funny. In the context of something that I've actually thought about for a long time. And that thing is critical dominatrix theory. You guys want to know? You want to know how I can explain why a guy who literally teaches men how to be masculine men, why, like, people pay him a lot of money for that man. How can you reconcile the guy that literally tells men how to be more masculine and manly with the fact that there's now pictures of him sitting on a dildo on the internet? How can you reconcile that? Well, let me introduce you guys to critical dominatrix theory. So, those of you who are regular viewers on my channel, and some of you might not be regular viewers, you might just be here for the spice. But those of you who are regular viewers on my channel know that I think that life is all about balance. Everything in life is about balance. If we are hard over here, we're going to need to balance that out with some soft over here. Now, my experience, and I have a lot of experience as an executive coach, coaching people in very high-level, powerful positions. My experience tells me that when you are in a high-level, powerful position, all day, every day, you're in control of people's lives, you're making big decisions that cost a lot of money, you're going to need to balance that high amount of power on this end with maybe some submission over on this end. Because life is about balance. If you're powerful over here, you probably might be getting tied up in the bedroom over here. This is something I've seen bore out over and over and over again. People who are powerful in real life, generally one of the best ways to balance out that power, and quite frankly, to make you more powerful in real life, is to maybe take it up the ass with a sex toy in the bedroom. Thus the basis of critical dominatrix theory. If Jack Murphy is running around in his real life acting like the most manly man that has ever existed, then that's going to need to balance out somewhere. And to be quite frank, the bedroom is actually a place where we can balance this stuff out. And, you know, pro tip, if you want to be more powerful in your real life, then maybe playing some games with the partner in which you are submissive will help you be more powerful in real life. But the flip side also works. The reason I wanted to talk about this is there's this article that I love. I know it's on the Huffington Post, but it is actually a pretty decent article. And I'll put this, let me chat this in. I will chat this in on YouTube and on Locals, and let me put it on Odyssey, and Rockfin too, because I am broadcasting there as well. Oh God, hang on. I've got a whole thing going on here. Okay. So I love this article because what this article is about is a woman who basically she became a dominatrix because she wanted to do a documentary about dominatrixes. So she ended up becoming one so that she could befriend different dominatrixes. And in the process of becoming a dominatrix, she actually ended up being more powerful in her real life because of it, because she was a little bit more mild-mannered and maybe a little bit more, soft-spoken in her normal life. But then she got to go to work as a dominatrix and find the powerful side of herself. And I just want to read a couple things because I really don't I think probably one of the worst things that I've seen with the whole Jack Murphy canceling is we're canceling people over sex, which sex is like, I'm sorry, it's like one of our natural instincts. There is nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing dirty about sex. Sometimes people abuse sex in different ways, and that's a different thing. But for the most part, if you're consenting adults, who the hell really cares? Now, I don't want to see you naked on Twitter when I am unprepared mentally for that site. But mostly, who cares? I want to read this section of the article. She said, after she had become a dominatrix, more importantly, I felt in total control of my body. Mistress Cassandra was powerful, unapologetic, vicious, sweet, innocent, dirty. When I was her, I could be anything I wanted to be. And I didn't have to explain myself to everyone. Not only that, but this newfound power and confidence in myself was celebrated, respected, and very well compensated. Sometimes it's okay to use the safety of the bedroom to play with power and control and things like that. And believe it or not, that's going to help you in your normal life. If you are a person that has trouble standing up for yourself, dude, grab a whip in the bedroom and handcuff your partner to the bed and see what effing happens. If you find power there, that means you can exert power in real life. These are life tips, guys. Critical dominatrix theory works. One of the first things I learned in my new job was men of all ages, social classes, and religious and ethnic backgrounds found the dungeon to be the only place they felt safe enough to take off their mask, remove their armor, and reveal their vulnerabilities, traumas, and pain in an effort to heal and become better men. The surrender of their minds and souls was and still is one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed in my life, and it was all happening at the hands of a powerful woman. She goes on to talk about the fact that she was a dominatrix for 10 years because in this job, she could find power that she didn't know she had. So when I'm looking at someone like Jack Murphy, who is performing a highly, highly submissive, very feminine act, because women receive, men penetrate, women receive. So he's performing a very feminine act. I say good for him. Fuck it. You know what? Like, the dude today, at least as of right this moment, who knows how this is going to go for him. The dude today runs a business where he teaches men to access their masculinity. Now, Jack Murphy's masculinity to me is not something that I'm attracted to, like, in any way. But maybe that's what people want in their lives. Maybe that's what people want to portray themselves as. Patrice in YouTube, but I also know Patrice is a member of my local, so I'm going to bring it up on the screen. He said he thinks women are mature at 15. I don't think that's exactly what he was saying. I've seen that clip. I don't think that's exactly what he was saying. It's not, and I don't agree that the age of consent should be 15 either. I don't think that older men should be sleeping with 15-year-olds. That's a little ridiculous. But I do think that people should, there's nothing wrong with what he did on those videos. And I don't think that the fact that those videos are now more public, if people got value from Jack in terms of him helping them to bring out their inner masculinity or aspects of themselves that they wanted, then I really don't think that the videos or the photos that have come out should inhibit that. Because again, people do weird things in bed. They do. This is one of the stupidest possible reasons to cancel someone. And in fact, if we apply critical dominatrix theory in the way that it should be applied, which is in life, it's about balance. And if you're powerful in one position, maybe it would serve you to be tied up or penetrated in the other. Maybe it would make you more powerful in real life. Maybe it would make you more effective. I really don't think we should judge him for that. I'm sorry. The right has their panties in a bunch when it comes to porn. They do. And for me, like, this is one of those things that we're talking about consenting adults. We're talking about, I mean, he finally explained it. And I think, again, if Jack had just come out and owned his past and said, you know what, guys? Yep, I did internet porn when I lost my job and I was canceled, and it was what we needed to do to pay the bills. And, I would have preferred that it didn't come out, but it did. If he had just owned it and said, you know what? I had a great time with my fiance every time we did that. F you guys. I had an awesome time. Made a lot of money. I would have a lot more respect for him if he just owned it. And to be quite frank, if we're talking about presenting yourself as a powerful man's just going to own it. So what if his girlfriend, so Nat D says, what, his girlfriend was 25. So what? So what? That is their business, guys. It's their business. The biggest problem in this scenario was not Jack Murphy's past or Jack Murphy's perspectives or his opinions. The biggest problem with this entire scenario was that he was not honest from the beginning. That he tried to avoid it. The biggest problem in this scenario is that he didn't just own who he is. He tried to lie about it. That's my opinion on it. And if he had been more authentic, this is why, guys, authenticity is really important to me. Authenticity is probably my number one value. I think people can sniff out when someone is being inauthentic. I think people can sniff out really easily when they're lying. Jack Murphy could have avoided a lot of problems for himself had he just owned it from the beginning, not lied, not got all bent out of shape when a super chat was brought up, not yelled at Sydney inappropriately, not stormed off the set like a little child, not taking his damn porn off the internet in the first place, because there's no reason that porn should have still been on the internet. I'm sorry. Like, pro tip, if you're a public person, delete your porn. Or don't make it in the first place if you don't want it to get out, because it will get out. But the biggest part of this is the lying. It's not the porn. It's not the dildo. It's not any of it. It is the lying. So that's the lesson I think that everyone should take. If you've done things in your past that you're embarrassed about, just own them and accept them as a part of your journey. I actually would go so far as to say it is deeply impressive that Jack went from being canceled and having no money, being so desperate to pay the bills that they did porn on the internet, and then built up a successful business, helped the people he was coaching, because I have to assume that he did help them on some level. I don't know exactly how his program works, but I do have to assume that he did help the people that are in his program and paying him money on some level. So he's helped some people, he's built a business, he's built a brand, he's got a platform, he's done all of this stuff. Dude, I think works actually pretty hard. All of that's really impressive. And even though he's not necessarily someone that I would hang out with, I have to say that I find the vitriol around this whole thing as though every single one of us doesn't have a checkered past. I find it all to be a little bit much. I do. People should not get this much joy in destroying the life of another person. Regardless of whether I like that person or not, whether I like that person is immaterial to this position. People should not get this much joy in canceling the life of another person. You know, I've been in the coaching industry for a while, and that's what Jack Murphy was doing with this little masculinity thing. He's coaching. I've been in the coaching industry for a while. And one of the things I know about coaches is many of them are imperfect in their real lives, myself included. But just because you are imperfect in your real life does not mean that you can't help other people. It does not mean that you can't help other people to find their inner strength. It does not mean that you can't help other people empower themselves and lift themselves up. And maybe that's what he was doing. And I think it's a shame if there are people that he has helped in ways that they appreciate in their lives. I think it's a shame that he's being canceled over effing porn when it all could have been avoided. So those are my thoughts about Jack, but we aren't done talking about porn yet. It is a porn kind of day. This is what happens. This is what happens when we're in that week between Christmas and New Year's, and everyone, it's like a slow week and no one really wants to work. And people basically, you guys, we all get into a little bit of trouble. We all get into a little bit of trouble. The Dashing Rogue says, I don't think he was so desperate for cash he had to make explicit content. You don't know that. You have no idea. You have no idea what his bank account balance was. You have no idea what was going on in his life. You have no idea. It sounds like an excuse. I don't buy it. Time will tell how this saga will end. Listen, man, if you've never been canceled before, I don't know how to tell you guys how bad it is sometimes when you get canceled. When I got canceled the first time, I didn't have a lot of work lined up, and then, oh wow, there was a pandemic. I had no idea what to do. I figured it out, and I didn't, spoiler alert, I did not do porn on the internet. But sometimes people get desperate, and we have no idea. Let me see. I'm just looking in the chat in my locals community. I want to see what you guys have to say in locals. Oh, the Quartering has posted another video about this, apparently. What is going on? Okay, so side note, like, again, I don't really follow, like, internet drama all that much. Why does the Quartering hate Jack Murphy so much? Can someone educate me on this? Why does he hate Jack Murphy so much? I have no idea why. Yeah, so Alpha Nick in local says if he had owned it, it would have a springboard for him being a cuck beta to his persona of being an alpha male as personal growth as per his current business model. Nick, this is a great point. I'm sorry, Jack made himself look like a cuck in how he handled the situation. It wasn't the fact that his wife or girlfriend or whatever was sleeping with other people, because that's their business. They want to play, then they should be able to play. I don't even care if Jack was sleeping with women or men or whoever the fuck he was sleeping with. That is his business. He should have just owned it. Justin, it's probably for the best. Don't Google him right now. Don't do it, Justin. You're going to see things you can never unsee. Let's see. Just looking through the locals chat. Oh, Patrice says in locals, Jeremy doesn't subscribe to the manly man ideology. Well, here's the thing, though. Not everyone has to subscribe to Jack Murphy's idea of masculinity. I don't subscribe to Jack Murphy's idea of masculinity. But that does, but I don't live his life, and I don't live the life of the people that he's coaching. And I think this is, you know what? If you're going to get bent out of shape because someone has different ideas about masculinity or femininity or how to live your life or principles or any of these things than you should focus on your own life. People are allowed to do different things. If Jack is helping men to find their inner power in an environment when, quite frankly, men have had a lot of their power taken away, I don't know that that's the worst thing that has ever happened. So that's what it is. But let's continue to talk about porn, guys. Let's talk about porn. So yesterday on Twitter, I did a thing that I didn't actually think was going to be that big of a deal, but then it kind of became like a big deal. And so I'd been seeing all these conservatives talk about we should ban porn, ban porn, ban porn. And all I could think about was back in 2020 when all I heard about was conservatives saying free speech, individual liberties. And now all of a sudden they're calling for the government to ban porn. Well, there's a problem with that because pornography is protected by the First Amendment. It is. Sorry. This has been ruled on 18 different ways from Sunday by the Supreme Court. Let's just read a little bit of this article on Reason.com. The specter of pornography is once again haunting the minds of certain American conservatives. Let's ban porn. And this is not even new. This is from 2019. Let's ban porn. Ross of the New York Times declared last year porn is just a product, he wrote. Something made and distributed and sold, and therefore subject to regulation and restriction if we so desire. In the Daily Caller, Zach recently doubled down. Unlike a Scorsese film or newspaper, both of which are consumed for artistic enjoyment, he wrote, pornography is consumed with one outside end in mind, orgasm and masturbation. None of those things are wrong, by the way. Having an orgasm is not wrong. Masturbating is not wrong. Like, this idea that these things are wrong or dirty, this is part of the problem. If you are, dude, mark my words. I know this is not a topic I usually talk about, but if you are sexually repressed, you are going to create so many effing problems for yourself. You are. More problems are created from sexual repression than almost any other thing. Its primary purpose is not to entertain in any colloquial sense of the word or enlightenment. In that sense, pornography is just a tool, like any other product, and can be regulated like any other product. Don't let the pornography lobby and libertarians frame this as a free speech issue. It isn't. It is a free speech issue. I'm sorry. If you believe in the First Amendment, if you are a free speech absolutist like I am, then you cannot make any reasonable argument to ban porn. Now, we can talk about things like, I'm not in favor of it and children being around it at all. That should be off the table. I'm not in favor of assault or forcing anyone to do anything. All of this should be with consenting adults only. With consenting adults participating, creating the product, and consenting adults consuming the product. But within those parameters, it is a free speech issue. I'm sorry. You should not be in the business of regulating what consenting adults can do with their bodies or to create videos or whatever the hell they're doing. But of course, this is a free speech issue, as the U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly recognized, even in cases in which the court allowed certain restrictions on obscene material to stand. For more than half a century, the Supreme Court has drawn a line between pornography, which enjoys protections of the First Amendment, and obscenity, which does not. The distinction between the two, why any sort of all-encompassing government ban on porn would run afoul of the Constitution. In a book named John Cleland's Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure, the Attorney General of Massachusetts, 1966, the Supreme Court considered a state effort to have a sexually explicit book declared obscene and therefore banned under state law. Not so fast, the justices told the Bay State. Even a patently offensive pornographic work, the court held, is still protected by the First Amendment. A book cannot be prescribed unless it is found to be utterly without redeeming social value. Anyone who says porn has no redeeming social value is wrong. I am sorry. I am sorry. Consenting adults consume porn all the time, and they find it to have redeeming value in their lives. Perhaps it helps them to spark the marriage. Perhaps it gives them new ideas of things to try. Perhaps it helps them reignite the passion. Reigniting passion in marriages, when we have a divorce rate, the rate that we do, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe reigniting passion in marriages through watching other people do things on the TV, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that does have redeeming societal value. Again, sexual repression causes a lot more problems than people think it does. Several years later, the court revised its obscenity test in a landmark ruling that continues to hold sway in all legal debates over porn and censorship. According to Miller versus California, state statutes designed to regulate obscene materials must be carefully limited. A state may only prohibit a work for being obscene if the work meets all of the following criteria. 1. Whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that work taken as a whole appeals to prurient interests. 2. Whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law. And 3. Whether the work taken as a whole lacks any serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. The court applied the Miller test a year later in Jenkins versus Georgia in 1974, a case which centered on the obscenity conviction of a movie theater manager who screened the film Carnal Knowledge, which features nudity but would hardly qualify as pornographic by today's standards. Writing for the majority, Justice William Rehnquist, nobody's idea of a liberal squish, struck down the conviction. Although the Georgia Supreme Court had upheld the theater manager's obscenity bust on the grounds that the First Amendment does not protect the commercial exhibition of hardcore pornography, Rehnquist put it, he took a different view, literally. Our own viewing of the film, Rehnquist wrote, satisfies us that carnal knowledge could not be found under the Miller standard to depict sexual conduct in a patently offensive way. One can only imagine the sort of conversations that Rehnquist and his colleagues had in the chamber that day. As this case illustrates, the question of whether sexually charged material rises to the level of potentially prohibitable obscenity turns in a significant part on the specific contents of the work at issue. If the government wants to ban the sale or distribution of a particular dirty movie, in other words, the government must be able to convince the courts that the movie, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Otherwise, it is protected by the First Amendment. A one-size-fits-all government ban on pornography, by contrast, necessarily avoids all such case-by-case determinations and thus violates both the Supreme Court's precedents and the broader First Amendment principles they endorsed. Like it or not, the debate about porn is always a debate about free speech. The hands of every would-be government censor are still bound by the First Amendment. So I'm sorry, guys, this should not be a discussion of whether or not you like pornography or whether or not you consume pornography. The question is, does pornography violate the First Amendment? Or is it not violate. Is pornography protected by the First Amendment? If you are going to argue for individual liberty, for freedom, then you have to argue for ideas that you may disagree with. That's just the way it goes. People are not always going to apply those ideas in different ways. Pornography is not the same as the R word because the vast majority of pornography is made by consenting adults. It's not the same thing. It is not. I don't know, why do conservatives believe, this is an honest question, why do conservatives believe that every single person in porn is forced to be in porn against their will, and that all porn is like hardcore, like violent, extreme porn? Like, have you guys ever actually watched porn? Because most of it is not. The vast majority of it is not. Assault, the R word, is illegal. It is covered under the law. Getting children involved is illegal. It is covered under the law. Trafficking is illegal. It is covered under the law. If you don't want to watch porn, don't effing watch it. If you don't want your kids to watch porn, protect them from it. Be a parent. That's what you're supposed to do. But no, for most conservatives, maybe not most conservatives, but certainly the people who answered my poll, because here's what happened. So this tweet started going viral. Look at this, 228 quote tweets. Let's look at some of the quote tweets. There's like, everyone is arguing to ban porn, ban porn, ban porn, ban porn, ban porn. Oh my God, they're so excited about banning porn. So I put this poll up. I said, which do you want? Choose one. You can't choose both. If you ban porn, you infringe on free speech. If you protect speech, you can't ban porn. Choose which one you want. 66% of people. Over 6,600 votes. 66% of people said, I give a flying fuck about the First Amendment. This was not a poll about porn. If you think this is a poll about porn, you're not paying attention. This is not a poll about porn. This is a poll about authoritarianism. This is a poll to see how many people understand the slippery slope. Because if you use the government, if you use the state to ban porn, then you would use the state to ban art. Because there will always, for some art, there will be a fine line between art and porn. So if you use the state, the government to ban porn, you would absolutely use it to ban art you don't like. And if you would use the government to ban art you don't like, then you would absolutely use it to ban books you don't like. And if you would use the government to ban books you don't like, then you would absolutely use it to ban video games you don't like. If you would use the government to ban video games you don't like, then you would absolutely use it to ban movies you like, and so on and so forth until we aren't even able to think. Until we aren't even able to think. This is not a question of porn. This is a question of authoritarianism. If you guys go and look at the replies, and we'll look at one of the replies. Look at this reply. Look at this reply. This is from, she is a 23-year-old at the University of Chicago. University of Chicago is a good school. It is a good school. It takes a lot to get into the University of Chicago. She's not dumb. But this is a real person, and this is very representative of many of the replies that I got to this poll. She said, I mean, free speech absolutism is dumb and not anything anyone follows. The amount of free speech we have in America has already degraded society, and we should definitely reverse that shit while we still can. Does that freak anyone else out? Does that freak anyone else out? You know, I distinctly remember when I was about 13 years old, I wanted to go to law school and become a lawyer so that I could go work for the ACLU to defend the First Amendment, freedom of speech. That's true. I have very distinct memories of this. When I moved into my house, one of the very first magnets I put on my fridge was the First Amendment. But I didn't end up going to law school because at some point, whether that was in high school or maybe it was early college, I don't remember when, I kind of decided, I was like, free speech is fine. Free speech is protected. We don't have to worry about it. People understand the slippery slope. I didn't view a need for it. And now we have 23-year-olds at the University of Chicago saying free speech absolutism is dumb and free speech has degraded America. What I learned from this poll, get it back on the screen. Not that this is the most scientific thing in the world, because it's obviously not. But what I learned in this poll is that not only is free speech under attack from the left, free speech is absolutely under attack from the right as well. And that should freak all of us out. You know, I did a video about this when I talked about getting canceled by PragerU the other day. And if you haven't watched that video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go watch the video. I'm not whining or complaining or anything. I just think it's a sad state of affairs. I think it is a sad state of affairs that both the progressive left and the conservative right are completely fine with attacking free speech in this country. The First Amendment is first for a reason. It's first for a reason. It is one of our basic core values. We are the only country in the world that explicitly grants its citizens protection for their speech. We are the only country in the world that does this. That's something that we should, above all else, no matter if you're on the left or the right or in the middle or whatever the hell, that's something that all of us should be fighting to protect. I'm going to do a couple super chats. Sean C. says, porn is free/artistic as much as anything else. Even Michelangelo's David has been considered obscene at times, and yet it's a beautiful piece of art. This is exactly right. Listen, guys, you don't have to like porn. You don't have to watch porn. You don't have to consume porn. I'm not in favor of children being involved in any way, shape, or form. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes to banning porn, we also have to consider who decides what to ban and by what standards. And our standards change. Masterful works of art today would have been considered porn when they were made. And then those works of art would be lost on all of us. Just because you don't like the content does not mean you should employ the state to ban it. It is a horrible idea that will ultimately end up with speech that you like being banned. Nat D says, what about French dramas that feature real sex? I mean, listen, man, those softcore porns on like Cinemax, that's real sex. They're really having sex. It's not simulated. It's real. They're just not showing all the parts going in the things. That's real. But again, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it. Let me look in my locals, see what you guys are talking about, guys. Just so you know, I'm following a live chat in locals. And so you can join my locals at kb.locals.com. You'd have to be a supporter to chat in. Let's see. What are you guys talking about in my locals? Oh, they're talking about the Maxwell case. I love it. My locals aren't even listening to me. They're having their own conversation. They're like chatting amongst themselves. Guys, if you're watching in locals and you have a question you want me to answer, a point you want me to make, go ahead and chat in. Let's see. Justin says, what about Cuties? What about Cuties? I did watch Cuties. What I thought about Cuties was I absolutely understood the point that they were making. The thing that I found most offensive about Cuties was the fact that I'm not sure that I would have found it a good idea to cast girls that young in those roles. I understood from an artistic perspective the point they were making, but I think it was probably ill-considered at best to have young girls playing those roles. Because I'm not so much worried about the people watching it, because again, you don't have to watch Cuties. No one is pointing a gun to your head and forcing you to watch Cuties. But playing those roles could absolutely have had an impact on those young girls. And so that's not something that I'm in favor of. Oh, they're talking about Maxwell being found guilty. Okay. Well, that's a whole other story. So, guys, what do you think about banning porn? Are you in favor of it? Why are you in favor of it? Do you think about any of the consequences of it? Let me know what you think in the chat. Oh, my locals are telling me that I'm doing just fine. They don't need to give me any advice. Guys, I have the best community in locals in the world. If you want to join us, head over to kb.locals.com/support. You can join for $5 a month. You can also join for $50 a year. If you want 2 months for free, you can give a one-time gift. When you join in locals, you're going to be able to unlock all the features, including chatting in when I do live streams. As a reminder, I'm going to be doing daily live streams every day except Saturday, starting in the new year at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, which, of course, is the only time that matters because I don't understand time zones and how that all works. Let me just look in the chat. Yeah, people, see, this is why I like you guys. You guys are not in favor of banning porn. And listen, guys, generally speaking, whether it's Jack Murphy or porn or anything else, here is kind of my final thought, I guess, for the day, which is that you got to stop trying to control other people's lives. You've got to stop trying to control what other people do with their lives or how they spend their time or what they do in bed or what they watch. There is a time and a place for everything. And I think that that's what freedom means. That's what liberty means. It means people maybe choosing to do things that you wouldn't do. But in order to protect your freedom to live your life the way you want to live it, then you have to protect other people's freedoms as well. I don't care who Jack Murphy peed on. That is between him and the person that he peed on. It's not something I would do. But if he consented and she consented, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, people in my locals are like, what are you talking about? I'm responding to a YouTube chat, guys. I'm responding to YouTube. It's the YouTube person's fault. But people do weird things in bed. And if you aren't doing weird things in bed that you would be embarrassed on the internet about, then you just aren't trying hard enough. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Again, this is a little test run to just start streaming at 5 p.m. and see what happens. I will be doing this every day except for Saturdays in the new year. So I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Hope you'll mount that like button if you haven't already. I do plan on covering a variety of topics, news, life, maybe giving some sage life advice every once in a while. But if you enjoy the show, definitely check back next year. I hope all of you have a wonderful new year. Just a quick programming note. So normally on Fridays, I do happy hour, 3 p.m. It's going to be changing to 5 in the new year. I don't believe I'm going to be doing a happy hour this Friday, though. And the reason for that, it's Joshua's fault. Okay, you guys know Joshua. I do a show with him on Tuesday nights. That's not going to be changing, by the way. But I don't know that I'm going to be doing happy hour this week because I'm going to lunch or brunch with Joshua in Boston. And then I have to come back home. And then Victor and I are going to a New Year's Eve party. So I don't know that I'm going to be doing happy hour on Friday. I may do an impromptu happy hour tomorrow at 5. Maybe. I feel like I should. I feel like we need one more happy hour to round out the new year. So I may be doing an impromptu happy hour tomorrow at 5. Happy hour is a time. It's a stream where we watch a woke training and have some cocktails or some beer or some wine or whatever you feel like drinking, and we make fun of it. And so keep an eye on the channel or on my Twitter in my locals. I will announce if I'm going to do happy hour tomorrow at 5. Justin, I will not be doing karaoke on New Year's Eve. Hell no. Hell no. And if I was going to be doing karaoke on New Year's Eve, I would absolutely make sure that all of you had your phones put away and no one's filming that shit. I've had enough personal stuff leaked on the internet lately. I don't need any of that. No way. Sean C says, buy yourself an extra drink at brunch with Joshua. Pff, please, Joshua's paying. I'm not paying for brunch. Joshua's paying. But I appreciate the super chat, Sean C. Thank you for that. All right, guys. That's all I have. Again, I hope you'll join me in locals. I have the best locals community on the internet. And if not, maybe I'll see you tomorrow for happy hour. And have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year if I don't see you sooner. Take care. We'll see you soon.